I'm working that angle.
This is the one we're summarizing.
It's gonna be a lot to cut.
And some of them had
How you gonna put that
some
on
of them
one
had
page?
life sentences.
But we'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
so that's how Keith learned.
Maybe you're taking in portions.
You know that's
working on you.
yeah.
We're live now. No, I just got a notice.
Oh, you got okay.
Fli-City Blackout is now live. All right. Ding on my phone just dinged. No. I know, but I'm just saying. Nope. No, I just get notified.
No, we'll need just give me some blackouts.
Here we go. Joyce.
We got eggs.
That's the Angela date. See how little it is? It's a bite size. It is. Because it's like a.
When did you get that one?
When did I get it?
When did you get it? When she was here?
10 years ago. It was from 2003. But this one. I'm a little bit. This is the one we need to.
We do this till we free us.
Abolitionist organizing and transforming justice. That's.
Have you read that one?
Yes. And then for the. So like all the other bell hook stuff I have is a lot lighter. You know, this is teaching to transgress, education as the practice of freedom.
Oh, okay.
So it's a revolutionary approach to education. So, I mean, we've got, you know, but these are the books that Florida banned.
I'm going to get mine. We talk about it later. We try to set up this little podcast. I'll call you with it.
Oh yeah. This is her. To Brogan.
Remember when she was here and Brogan
I was there.
brought her a balloon?
I was down there. Me and my sister, the one that passed. And we had on her shirts, and everybody was asking, "Where'd you get those shirts?" I still got those shirts. She lived around the corner from us when we were coming up in Atlanta. Yes, she did. And we were telling her about that. She was so happy. Jefferson County.
Have you ever read any James Clavell?
I don't know.
It's a good short read.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
And boys and men. It's not about boys and well, they're so far behind girls even in classroom. It's pretty good book.
This is a good one. This one's old. This one's from '93. Have you seen that one?
Look like a good read. I'm trying to be more avid reader. I'm just embarrassed. And I hate that.
That's a hard book to get a hold. I mean, it's you can buy it and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is they don't sell it in stores
Oh, really?
because it has Asada
Can I buy
Shakur.
it from you?
Uh,
You're gonna get rid of this one.
I can get copies. I'll get some copies, but I mean we've got to.
Yes, ma'am.
That's because that has Mumia Abu Jamal and Asada Shakur like talks. But like I said, it's from the '90s, but it's
Okay.
we still have to know our past.
Just try to get a little updated then.
Well, it talked about the war on black revolutionaries. So I mean, you know, like from the '60s, the '70s, and the '80s, and about how she had to flee to Cuba. You know,
Okay.
and
Yep.
so even if they're talking about the 90s, it's still history that they like are recounting. And then
When I say update, I mean
We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce. We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce. Fli-City got some dogs in it, dogs in it, dogs. Fli-City come off authentic, authentic. We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce. We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce.
My city experiencing the transition from penny pinching, maximizing our dollars, multiply triple digits. I came a long way from baby jars in a project kitchen.
this is another one.
Raising, okay.
Yeah. Let's get all of our
All our brands
Angela
up.
Davis and
Set it up so they can see it. Yeah. Mhm. Set it up against the juice.
about when Miss Claudia wants to sip.
Yeah, say that. That's all right.
They ain't
That's
just
all
gonna
right, baby.
advertise the dollars.
oh, that one's gonna fall down there.
We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce. We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce. Fli-City got some dogs in it, dogs in it, dogs. Fli-City come off authentic, authentic. We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce. We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce.
My city experiencing the transition from penny pinching, maximizing our dollars, multiply triple digits. I came a long way from baby jars in a project kitchen.
Bell Hooks and Angela Davis. That's the ones that were banned in Florida as of yesterday.
See, that's why it's
I
important
heard
to
Ben
vote.
Crump this morning talking about,
Mhm.
well, it stemmed from the Tyree Nichols incident.
Situation. Mm-hmm.
But and I heard how he spoke on, it's not even about color now. It's not even about color,
No.
because this ignorance can come from anywhere. And then he referred back to the Rodney King beating.
Oh yeah. No,
And
you-
he said the only difference is Nichols didn't survive, So that was a heavy piece, I was
But
upset.
it's not that it's not about color though, because it still is
Well,
very much about
Yeah,
color.
but in this case, it was 5 blacks that beat
Right,
this
but
young
the-
man to
About
death.
color,
It is about
because
color.
We're conditioning on
Right.
that slave
Okay.
mentality. Even when you are management in a corporation, you can not discipline the white like you can
Discipline the
black.
blacks.
Now,
Right.
you want to get ahead in corporate world as a manager, you got to dog out
Your own
but
people,
yeah,
yes.
you cannot.
And we all
and they're
experienced
still
it.
experiencing that.
Yeah.
They got those positions, but their target is not. So when you brought up to think that way, and it's in your mind.
It's
You
a
know?
system.
Yeah,
It's an
Mhm.
institution. So that's why it's not about
Mhm.
necessarily the color of who's the victim or who's the perpetrator, because it's a racist system,
Mhm.
right? And that's what we were talking about, the from slavery
Mhm.
to Jim Crow,
Yep.
new Jim Crow, and now we're on the new Jim Crow.
No, you're right.
And that's because it's systemic and
Right.
it's the reproduction of inequality and the reproduction of racism.
That's why they want to
No,
enter
it's
your
you.
classroom. So what they said, I'm gonna enter your child's mind, and I'm gonna miseducate them worse than what
The
they are
miseducation
now. In a
community.
Internalized colonialism.
she
And
brought
I
the
love-
book.
I
out.
got here. I got pull a book for everything that you
And
got.
that book called Miseducation.
Education.
Miseducated Negro. Interesting book as well.
Oh yeah.
Come on now, listen. So
Mhm.
we tapping in on Fli-City
Dying
Blackout.
colonialism
You're at the top.
toward the African. Yeah, sorry
And
about
she,
that.
no, she got, and I
Sorry.
love how if you look at this beautiful display of different books that speaks to the tune of racism systems that take place in America, and we just had an offline conversation about the Tyree Nichols incident and equating that to the Rodney King beating. Right, it's all stems from the mindset of those who want to oppress other people. Right.
Mhm.
And so you're absolutely right. It do stem from racism. It does stem from slavery, right? It does stem from capitalism. Just want to keep on top, and they want to keep black people as the permanent lower class. And so
It's
I'm
white supremacy.
and white supremacy at its
Mhm.
finest. So, I appreciate even us having a dialogue about this and really having the background knowledge with all these different books to be able to express it in ways to convey to the public how important it is to break these cycles, right? And it starts with everybody. It starts with all of us playing a part in doing our job to eliminate racism and being very serious about it. And I know that is a very uncomfortable topic for a lot of people just in general, but needs to be talked about. So we're gonna dive in and we're gonna have some conversations. Do we got some waters for the ladies?
No, I'm good.
Maybe in the refrigerator. Okay. Um, we're gonna tap in right now. So you welcome you to Fli-City Blackout, and we are getting live. Right. Be sure to like, subscribe to the channel. You can catch it on YouTube. You can catch it on Facebook Live. Just in general, we want to definitely provide some type of insight on many different levels and have nurturing conversations. So my name is Dewani Robinson, and I have some special guests in the room today. In the studio with us today, we have the Flint Board of Education representatives, right? So we're going to pass it down so you introduce yourself, role and responsibility, and then any other information you'd like to provide for our audience.
Jeez. Well, I'm gonna defer to the queen here. And
Well, I'm Claudia Perkins, and I am the secretary for the Flint School Board. I am a native of Flint by way of Alabama.
Come on now.
And
Shout out to the
and
South.
I raised 3 children here.
That's right.
I'm a widow. I have had a long, extensive activism role in this Flint community. I remember when the community was vibrant and it was just effervescent. We had a lot of things going on, especially on the north end, because I do recall coming up where the African Americans could not be on the west side of Saginaw Street. We were bound to the east side of Saginaw Street. And then we came up, we on the north end of Flint, we had everything. I mean, I thought segregation was the best thing ever because we were a community rooted and grounded in each other. We trained our children. We had fun together. We had communities that were family oriented. And we lost all of that recently, which is why I came and decided to run for the Flint School Board, because I believe if we clean our neighborhoods up, get rid of all this blighted housing and businesses that are obsolete now, I believe that we can clean our neighborhoods up and restore our communities. We have to also start in the home first.
Right.
The parenting is essential and crucial
Mhm.
to what I ran for. Also, the miseducation of our children. In other words, they're not getting any. The reading and writing and arithmetic that we grew up on, they don't even know how to do. They're graduating, they cannot read. They're graduating, they can't write in cursive. Quick story, I had a young man come to my house one morning and he was just so upset and almost to tears. And he asked me, would I teach him how to sign his name on his check?
Mm.
And I took that whole morning trying to teach him how to write his name in cursive. These are real life stories. And so we've broken down our family, our communication, the love we had, and the respect for each other. These children walk around, they don't have any respect. They cuss in front of their elders. They defy their parents. It's just a breakdown in the Bible of what, things would happen. I decided to run for the Flint School Board to be positive change.
Mhm.
When you want to see positive change, you have to be the change you want to see. And that's where I am. So I am now the current secretary on the Flint School Board, and I'm here to do any and everything I can to bring our community back to its greatness. We had a lot of things going on. We used to dominate in the beauty salon business. My aunt was the owner of the Desmar Beauty Salon, which was right on Saginaw next to the Golden Fry, those of you that are old enough to remember. And all of my mother and her sisters worked there. My aunt was the owner, Odessa Martin. And we grew up loving on each other. We had dinners and my mother is one of 10 children, so we rotated from house to house on the weekends, and we ate, laughed. They played cards, some of them, and we just had family fun. And we've just gotten away from a lot of things on the north end of Flint. I remember Federal's and Arlen's department store. I remember the North Town movie theater. I remember the Capitol Theater. I remember, Alvin's record shop, Chicken Joy on the corner of Wood in Saginaw. I mean, I
Chicken
remember
Joy.
so many things that we grew up. We had roller skating rinks. We had bowling alleys. We had, Northwest. And we had so many things. And I want to be about that now. I want that to come back to its great, the community to come back to its greatness. But we have monies, and we want your input as parents to come and help us to channel a lot of this funding so that we can get our community back, because there's a plan for us and it's nothing nice. So if you don't come to and be a part of the solution, you'll be a part of the problem.
That's right.
It's just like voting. If you don't vote, you don't count. So if you don't step up and help us to help you, what's the point? So it's no one's fault but your own. So that's where I am.
I'm glad you laid it down and gave some historical value to what Flint has to offer or had to offer as we envision what we can build in the future.
Yeah.
Because you're right, Flint was a thriving place, and all those names and places that you just attested to, I heard great things about, and I wish that I had the opportunity to catch a whiff of some of that, right?
Yeah.
As we start looking at the future and how we develop from here on out, maybe we can kind of start placing those entities and those structures back in the community of Flint.
And I actually dealt with a lot of your family members during that time.
You did what?
You dealt with a lot of your family
Oh
members
yes,
during
ma'am.
that time.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we were all together, and we were all for one and one
That's
for
right.
all, from the college all the way, to the streets. I
Till
mean,
now.
just being real.
That's right.
And so it was a joy back then just to be alive. I mean, we had fun. I remember somebody saying, I didn't even realize we were poor. That's how much fun we had, That's how much fun we had. But we were a community, and that's the thing I want to get back to.
No, I appreciate that. And big shout out to you all who paved the way for the future. We coming back one day.
Yes.
And that's the dream.
I believe it.
Okay. All right. Young lady.
Well, I come from a little bit more of a radical perspective
Hey, come on now.
than Queen Claudia over here. So I kind of like to get away from that. Oh, the past is so great. Oh, we had it so good. Oh, we did this. Yeah, let's not overlook the camaraderie that we had, but those things were purposely dismantled and destroyed intentionally. Well, again, we're talking about this system, the system of white supremacy,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
the system of racism, and it's the way that it's perpetuated and the way that it continues. So
That's right.
I'm a little bit younger than Queen Claudia here, so I remember growing up in Flint. I'm from Flint, born and bred in Flint.
That's right.
In the 60s and the 70s, and while there were a few great things, there were a few not so great things.
That's right.
And I remember looking around me as a little girl going, that's not fair. That's not right. This shouldn't be, even as a little girl, little girl.
That's right.
So like I was, in the Flint schools, and going to a wonderful school, Walker School, Flint Open Schools, it used to be called. And it was, then you went to Emerson, and then you went to Flint Schools of Choice. And there were people lined up. There was a waiting list to get into these schools. And what happened? Well, I didn't know at the time. Well, I knew it was happening that my school got closed down and I had to go somewhere else. And I remember picketing, and I remember teacher protests and parent protests and coming together and this and that. Well, come to find out, I have to learn it later on in graduate school, like what happened to our community. So in the 1970s, when all this was going down, I realized that the federal government cited Flint, Michigan as one of the top 5 most segregated cities in the country.
Mm.
Bam, right? So you're living through it and you're looking around going, something's wrong. Even as a little girl, you can feel it in
Yeah,
your
right.
bones. You can see the injustice. You can see the inequality, right?
Mhm.
So we find out that the federal government said, you have not practiced all deliberate speed. 1954, Board versus Brown versus Board of Education.
Mhm.
Have to integrate the schools, right? So now it gets to the 1970s. We still haven't integrated crap. Not at all. In fact, we're even more segregated than normal.
I agree
And
with
if you look at the book Demolition Means Progress, which I always bring up, there's instances, Andrew Highsmith recounts incidents where Black children were put into, oh man, I'm getting excited. I'm knocking things over here.
No,
Black
that's that
children were
fire.
put into closets rather than be integrated into the classroom with the other white children. Did you read that book?
No, say the book again.
Demolition Means Progress.
Oh yeah. I did.
But do you remember that
Mhm.
that anecdote where they took one of the students because they had to redline the school district so bad that they had a couple of Black students that ended up in a white school, and they're like, oh God, what are we going to do? Well, let's put them in the closet.
Mm.
Right?
See, and let's
That's not the good old days. Like
Right.
that's not what I want to get back to. And
Right,
we have
right.
to bring that up. And that's what was happening.
Mhm.
That was predominantly what was happening. So this whole thing about Flint Community Schools, what a flagship it is, and how wonderful the idea was wonderful. It's wonderful to
Mhm.
talk about, okay, let's have a school building in every neighborhood. And the families can come together and kids can walk to school. That's great, except when you've got segregated neighborhoods, that means that your schools are going to be segregated. And it was by design, it was on purpose. So this idea of the community schools didn't come out of some generosity of spirit
Come on now.
about bringing together the community. It came out as a way to perpetuate and to continue that segregation. Let's call it like it is.
Yeah, it's true.
Now,
I
so the
respect that.
idea is great.
The concept is
right?
great.
Let's
Mhm.
have a school in every neighborhood, and then building where the community can come together. We can have before school activities, we can have after school activities, but let's not predicate it on racism and inequality.
That's right.
Come on now, listen. I respect everything that she just said because we have to be honest. We have to be honest with ourselves, right? It had a great concept. It was a great idea, and you do want to not only educate the children, but you also want to put the parents in position to be able to raise their children, train their different positions, and have a greater quality of life. So I thought that model was wonderful, right?
In theory.
In theory.
In practice.
In practice.
Yes.
Right. But when you look at, I guess, the development behind the scene and the intent from those who had the mindset of that at the time, at those days, it didn't really have us in mind.
In those days, it's still the mindset, though.
It's still, and that's true. And it is the mindset of today. And this is
just
what
a little bit more
polished and and
it's a little bit more polished and
so
covered up.
Right. So tell me this, right? So we were one of the top schools at one point in time, or Flint had the top schools at one point in time, and then the transition happened when General Motors left, and now they took their funding away, which that was in the book. It was also a plan as well.
Yeah, but
So-
it's not just General. Remember,
Mhm.
so it's not just General Motors leaving. It's integrating the schools and trying to bring parity and equity to our Black students.
Yeah.
So they're trying to say, because General Motors pulled. No, they're trying to say that in some way cast aspersions on integration and equity as if it can't work, like it's a failed project.
Mhm.
When in fact it was designed to fail because they did not want to integrate the schools. They did not want to integrate the neighborhoods. They wanted to keep a system of white supremacy and oppression.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
so let's dissect that, right? So that is the intent. That is what's going on today. You got foundations
Still going on
that's
today.
continue to have their hands in Flint schools
Amen.
and continue to try to guide it in a way that they seem necessary without us in mind.
You know, I
Right.
was so happy last night to see all of you
Mm-hmm.
handsome black men in
Come
the
on now.
audience. I mean,
Come
in
on
the
now.
audience. It was an uplift to my soul.
Yeah.
It really was because, you know, we started when I was in Delphi as a union rep. We started an organization called Black Men in Union,
Mm-hmm.
and it grew so profoundly. We started in Detroit, and it just catapulted until we had to rent a whole hotel in Ypsilanti area,
Mhm.
the Radisson on the Lake.
Come
We
on.
ended up booking every single room every
That's
February
right.
for Black History Month.
That's right.
And
Mhm.
it grew, just grew, and it's still going on today.
Mm-hmm.
But you had some major players, you know, that believed in us,
Mm-hmm.
believed in our culture, believed in the history. And those are the things that when I said it was good to grow up back then, it was because we knew what family meant. You
Right.
know, we had that camaraderie, we had that love, you know, we had that connection one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things when I said it was great to grow up, you know, back then,
Mm-hmm.
because we knew what family meant. And
Yeah.
all of that derived from slavery. You
Right.
know, we had to stick together during that time,
I
you know.
agree.
So
I think we were at our strongest when we were at the time when we were in bondage because we were all we had. And
that's right.
when you talk about even during the time of Reconstruction,
Yes.
right? When we were
Yes.
able to kind of start purchasing land from former slave owners,
Oh,
when we
yeah.
were able to get employment, when we were able to educate ourselves, you had grandfathers and grandchildren in the
Mhm.
schoolhouse together.
Mhm.
I think, you know, we started building actually at that rate. We were creating generational wealth, right?
Mhm.
When you're talking about the ratio of generational wealth from those times, before slavery, it was about 60 to 1,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
During Reconstruction, we got it down towards about 30 to 1, right?
Mhm.
And then after that, then the Jim Crow laws come into
Yes.
place because they saw the advancement. They saw
Yeah.
us virtually starting from nothing,
Mhm.
right? And started to
Mhm.
build something. And then they put these laws in place, these policies in place. Those same folks that was fighting in the Confederate Army went into law enforcement, they went into legislation. And then now you have what we have going on today, where it's kind of like a simulated freedom that we all are living, and it is not putting us in position. So I really appreciate y'all calling that out and speaking to the tune of that. Lord, I appreciate your fire for always coming to it
Yes. Yes.
as a strong person who believed that this was wrong and that you're going to do everything that you can, educate yourself to make it right, right? From reading all these books to understanding the systems, right? And doing something about it, right? And not being scared.
Mm-mm.
And it take a lot of grit. I got to be honest.
That's
And
true.
like a lot of
That's
people, that's
true.
what you
Says I'm
need.
not scared.
Well, you can't be scared in this work. You have to live with purpose.
You have to speak the truth even if your voice shakes.
And speaking truth, the power is what we need today. We don't
Mhm.
need a lot of figureheads and a lot of people who are bought and sold off, who are
Bought
in
and paid
position,
for, yes.
right, to play a part for what's not right. And so I admire that type of attitude, right?
Mhm. Me too.
That energizes me and folks on the ground who see this as wrongdoing, who wants to do something about it, to get involved in their community and working with those alongside to change it. So I always say big shout out to y'all, and I appreciate even coming to that meeting yesterday. It was a lot of people that stood up, a lot of people that spoke about their programs. There was a lot of brothers in the house that had some great things to offer to the school board and also to our youth. And we want to see those things take place in the schools because our children need something different nowadays. When you talking about our youth for today, right? They're not the youth of before, right? They need a whole lot of support. They need a lot of work to be done. And it's going to take some very special figures, right, to continue to make sure that that happens. So our leadership, which are you all, Queen, Miss Clark, Miss Perkins, I'm sorry, and also Queen, Miss McIntyre, and also Queen. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got it.
We got
Yeah,
a
I'm
third
moving.
guest too. So
I can move.
no, I'm going to move because you all got something to say and you all have a conversation that needs to be had. So I'm going to step to the side and I'm going to allow Queen McNeil to come in. So then that way you all can have a strong conversation. You can talk about the ESSER funds because a lot of people are interested in how those dollars are being distributed. But then also you want to expand on anything else that we need to know as the
Okay.
public. We want to continue continue to be over there at the meeting.
Mhm.
Let's not just come for one meeting and think
Please,
that it's over and
please,
think that we
please.
did a job or did something. No, we have to continue to keep stepping up, continue to go, and they're going to let us know when the dates and times to be there. And we as a community will show up and support. So I just appreciate you all. And I'm going to kind of turn it over to you all. So if you want to kind of elaborate on different things about what you talked about yesterday, but then also give us insight about, I know folks are looking about the school buildings, people who are interested in understanding how to go ahead and apply to get a building. They're going to lay all that information out for you and give you additional information beyond that. So at this time, I am going to swap it out and you all can continue to keep going. And then we're going to get the queen hooked up.
We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce. We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce. Fli-City got some dogs in it, dogs in it, dogs. Fli-City come off authentic, authentic. We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce. We light it up like sauce in the sauce in the sauce.
My city experiencing a transition from penny pinching, maximizing our dollars, multiply triple digits. I came a long way from baby jars in a project kitchen.
So that we can be strategic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can lay it down, and I'll just be over here just asking questions. So if you guys got some questions or something like that, I can ask questions on the side.
Let,
Yep.
let Joyce, Dr. Joyce go.
Well, hello, I'm, they call me Dr. Joyce Ellis McNeil. I've been in Flint over 22 years. I'm a product of Taylor and Detroit, Michigan area. I was at General Motors Design Center. I kind of supervised that area for a minute. I came to Flint because during a period of time when the auto world was ruling Flint, many cities failed to put in a plan B, not just Flint. And I'm also a computer programmer at one time. So we always had a loop. If that program doesn't work, you have to have an exit out.
Mhm.
And many cities did not know how to exit out. And during this time of growth, we program our children was looking at mom and dad as making six figures, and they figure, well, I can go to school, but I don't have to read. I don't have to write because the shop is going to take me as I am.
Mhm.
And so I remember doing a survey, what would especially the city of Flint look like when General Motors and all these companies pull us out? Because you couldn't separate the hair from the have-nots. They couldn't be found. The average mother on welfare was with a six-figure man or vice versa. And so when I began this project, creating a early childhood development center, I was profounded when I came here that they could not read. African American children and adults was not reading at the level they should be. And we go back to this system of I have to take it all the way back. For me, was the civil rights movement. Segregation was working for me down in Mississippi.
Mhm.
You know why? Because they was talking about racism, but I didn't have to experience it because everywhere I lived, everybody had their own business. My daddy was a janitor. My dad had his own grocery store. Tougaloo, Mississippi had his own gas station. My other cousin owned a roofing company. My other cousin owned the construction company. My other cousin crossed the highway. He had the car repair. 2 or 3 houses down, you can go and buy your clothes. We had our restaurants. We had everything we need. So, and we had every school in every part of the city that you could think about. And all of a sudden, you wake up after the civil rights movement. That's when they got clever. Well, what we'll do, we'll let them live next to us. We'll let you live next to door to the people that can't move out, and you can take their house and pay triple prices. And in September that year, they took the blacks and sent them to the school in the city. And I want you guys to really hear me when I say that. The African American teacher could not go to those schools and teach their children.
Mhm.
And they began to start talking about certification. So the
Mhm.
black teachers in the South gave up on teaching because nobody could turn around and say, what happened to the teachers? What happened to them? They didn't go with us. So can you imagine having about 15 or 20 schools in a black community, 25 or 30 kids in a classroom, how many hundreds of thousand $1 million left that whole community right after the civil rights movement? That was not Dr. Martin Luther King's dream. That was the white man's dream.
That's right.
Mhm.
And so we can't put that on Martin Luther King.
Right.
When we're fighting among themselves, they're also
Right.
fighting against you. Because if you can keep a person fighting against themselves and each other, they don't have to worry about anything. I grew up in a community, we never had a police officer in my community, never had a cop come to the community unless he was looking for somebody, but we never had police officers in our community. Never seen them.
Mhm.
We didn't have to have them. Why? Because it was a community,
Mhm.
and whether we was poor, who had money, who didn't, that was never a question because we was a community. So here we are today. I have did an experiment. I have been traveling around, and it's just not Flint. What happened to that race?
Mhm.
What happened? 2 or 3 generations went without nobody paying attention to that generation. We are the baby boomers,
Yes.
not you, the baby boomers.
Yes.
We forgot that generation. We didn't go back. We didn't leave them nothing. We didn't leave them nothing to work with. We didn't leave them land. You didn't leave them anything. And keep in mind, um, during that 60, you divide and conquer. During them 60s and 70s, your insurance companies guy would come by your house and knock on your door, and you pay into insurance
That's
policy,
right.
right?
Mhm.
And so then they started, the insurance companies said, no, they can't have them 25, 50, $100,000 insurance policy on when a person leaves, the kid gonna leave maybe like $6,000. And you can't have freedom without wealth.
That's true. We
The
That's a
problem
real
we're having,
conversation.
we're not leaving our children nothing to work with. And if you don't think of it like that, then we will always be having these type of conversation
Mhm.
because we don't have wealth, and that is where we ended up with these ESSER funds. They know the powers to be know that they controls the money. Here we are, over $146 million, very little string attached to that, and it states in the ESSER 3 funds that it's community driven.
Mhm. Come on.
Community driven. For the first time, we could do this. We fought and we had community forums, and we came up with a community partnership agreement. Had attorneys to look at it. Am I correct? They said that you can use the money, go out there and get community.
Mhm.
Because let's face it, I don't care what program any institution put together, without that African American male input and without that African male woman input in that community, it's a failed program. They making money off keeping your children stupid.
Mhm.
So they comes up, well, we got the CRIM, we got the Youth Quest. We don't need them. Yesterday changed my whole world when I looked out at the audience
Yes.
and it was filled with loving, powerful, non-threatening African American male standing up, fighting for their community.
That's right.
Mhm.
You didn't see the media there.
Mhm.
They said, "Oh, we need more black men. We need more black men." When the black men show up, you run and get a computer and start to type. Oh, this is not what we want.
Mhm.
You got scared. That meeting was not to scare you; it was to address what
That's
was the
right.
problem.
Mhm.
Didn't I say that though, Dewan? I said you get any number of black men in a room, and it's going to be scary to the powers that they're going to be scared.
I
Doesn't
mean,
that-
it's even made
Right.
some of the people that we put in leadership that look like you afraid of you.
That's right.
Mhm.
They saw how powerful a team of strong sisters on the stage last night could be.
Mhm.
That's what
Come
they
on.
saw.
Yeah.
They saw the unity in the ranks that were you all sitting in the audience. They
Mhm.
saw the power as you came up to the mic. They saw the intelligence, and I was just overwhelmed because I was proud as an African American woman to see it. Because God ordained for you to lead. I don't
Come on.
mind following a good, strong, intelligent man.
Right.
I don't mind following or standing beside. I don't mind. As an African American woman, I do not.
But
Mhm.
but we as a people, we got to stop using voting to vote against your own self.
That's
I
right.
never seen a group of people go to the poll and vote against their own
Own
interests.
Mhm.
And even when this election came up and we got to get rid of them. We want to get rid of this board member. We want to get rid of these. And oh yeah, because they're not doing nothing. Well, sometimes what do you call nothing? Fighting for land. Land is the most wealthy piece of wealth a person can have. They empty these school buildings on purpose. They don't want the building. They could care less about the building.
Mhm.
It's what the building sits on. They're
Right.
not concerned about poor kids getting hurt in an empty building. The building been empty for 20 some years.
Right.
Nobody even thought about that. But what I want to talk about, we have $80 million approved by our last board members, approved out of that 100-some million to do renovation, buy new books,
Furniture.
give the teacher a beautiful lounge, give our kids nice gyms. Here we're going into 2 years, and they're talking about, we're trying to sell the building so we can help the children. You got 100-some million. Why don't you spend that million on the children first?
Mhm.
First thing they talk about is selling our land and building fences around abandoned buildings
Yeah.
to safeguard that land for the next
Mhm.
overseers.
They're
For-
more you're
They
more
are.
concerned about, and I'm just speaking now, not as a board member,
Mm.
just a human right, poor people campaign person. I'm concerned when people more concerned about empty buildings
Mhm.
and concerned about the welfare of your children in the classroom. I'm concerned when you come talk to me about what you think you need and you don't even go into the classroom.
Mhm.
I'm concerned when we're sitting on 100-some million dollars, 90-some million dollars in the city, and here we are, got other organizations thinking that you're too ignorant and don't know what your people need and telling you this is how we're going to educate your kid. It is not up to a system
Mhm.
to educate your child.
Right.
Down in Mississippi, they woke us up and sent us to a school to learn how to read and write and do math. We're waking our children up and sending them to school to make sure they never learn how to read, they never know how to write, they never knew how to math, they don't have any discipline. All by
And they
design.
don't know their history.
And let me and just to interject here, just to give you an example. So, where did the free breakfast program start?
Come on
Where
now.
did Head Start
on.
originate from?
Better
You
go
guys
back to
own-
the Panthers. You better go
That's
back to the
All right,
Panthers.
so you look at
You're
something
right.
that's community driven, that originates in the community, very successful, that that there it is. It's been co-opted, it's been stolen from us, right? Because who runs Head Start? Who takes credit for feeding our kids in the schools? It's
Mm.
these nonprofit industrial complex and the government that they
Mhm.
took over because again, it's like what I said, you can't have especially strong black men stand up. You're going to scare the hell out of people. Well, they could not have the Panthers running that. Are you kidding me? So they had to co-opt, we call it Columbusing. You come in, you discover something that's already there and you take it.
You take it. And they're
So-
used to taking
So
it.
Head Start
Remember
got
that.
Columbused. So did the breakfast program. And then it got watered down.
And
It's
we
not
have to
what
learn
it
how-
started
yeah.
out being. It was a mutual aid society, right?
Yes.
And I just wanted to say, in terms of the abandoned buildings, the other thing, when we all remember when they shut Central down, they're talking about building up a fence around it now. Well, when they shut it down, they left the damn doors open. They left
Yeah.
everything in there, the papers, the filing cabinets, the furniture, the machine, the shop machinery. They had machinery for shop classes that was, we could have used that. They left the damn doors open and walked away and invited people to come in and destroy that building. And
It's a
now they're
shame.
throwing their arms up and going, "Oh my God, the property values, let's put a fence around it. Let's offload the building so that, we can save money for the schools." It's so disingenuous, dishonest.
Of all the schools that we have closed right now, what would be the estimated figure of how much that land and property is worth that they're trying to steal from us and profit off?
I'm gonna tell you this here.
Millions.
Millions.
See, you're not going to
Millions.
get an honest appraisal because they're undervaluing it. This is what they did with the
That's why they
financial
let me
emergency
know.
managers. They're going to
Yeah.
underbid it.
An abandoned building on land is devaluated. Take the building off the land, and the land is worth millions. And so that's why a lot of company doesn't come to Flint, and they say, "Oh, Central sits on 22 some acres of land, maybe 28." So the company don't want to come in and demolish the building. They want you to just say, "Well, I'll tear this down for you." But then the price of the land is going to go up. It's just going to go up.
And let's talk about the elephant in the room. It's not just the companies that are coming in to do this land grab, land speculation.
Yes.
It's the Mott Foundation. You've got Applewood. You've got a gentleman's farm, which is code in North America for a plantation. It's what they call plantations in the North, a gentleman's farm. We still have one right in the middle of our
Mott.
city. It's Applewood. It's this estate, and on certain days they let the riffraff come in and peek in the windows and look at how the rich live. They want.
I graduated in '93 from Flint Northwestern High School. Now, Flint Northwestern has just about everything you need for a school. It has a driving range, it has a stadium, it has a tennis court, it has an Olympic-sized swimming pool. I personally benefited from auto mechanics class. I was able to bring my family's cars up in there and fix them for free.
That's
and
right.
Learn a trade during high school. One of my favorite classes, by the way. Shout out to Mr. Graham, rest in peace. I mean, you name it, Northwestern has it.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? Why is a building like that sitting dormant and vacant?
Well, as a board
I
member,
remember graduating, and my graduating class was well over 1,000 kids. You know what I'm saying? The
We
seniors,
know.
well over 1,000.
We know.
They
and we
lied
have
and
had
said it
these
wasn't viable.
conversations of turning Northwestern into a trade school, bringing those type of things back.
Got a
And
little auditorium.
Yeah, and maybe get a couple second outside opinion. And like I say, now I'm speaking like if it was a board, and the board just say, "Hey, we want to turn. We're not gonna just let that go away." Our previous board president was adamant about it. Karen McIntosh. We went over. We talked about the same thing: restoring Northwestern, bringing these trade. Something that she called it was other thing that we wanted there, but it takes the board as a whole to move as a whole to get something done, and they will have to have that compassion for the people like we do. See, I'm not in the corporate world, so I'm not trying to get to the top. I don't have to worry about that. But when you come in from a corporate perspective, and you're put in there for that reason. And so that's the problem with leadership. Leadership without purpose is just leadership guided by somebody else. So you have to have a purpose in your heart to serve on these school boards. Same thing happened to Detroit. We keep putting the wrong people in leadership. And so then they're not concerned. Public school is about business now. It's a business institution. I've been on that board for about 3 years, and I can count on my finger the number of times that they talk about the children. For 2.5 to 3 years, all we talking about is building zero. Taking your land, doing
Fences
this.
around empty buildings,
But if I
property
started
values.
talking about kids and taking $80 million and putting it in the classroom, taking $80 million and landing some of those teachers' pockets and bringing them up to a suitable living, taking money and paying your payroll, then that's create another problem, not just here in Flint, because education is not education, it's businesscation.
That's right.
And they do care less about whether your kid learn how to read and write, because you don't take no 12 and 15 and 20 years to teach a kid their ABCs. You learn that from kindergarten to first and second
That's
grade.
right. That's
Don't
right.
blame that on the mama, because the mama don't have a master in education. That should start at a kindergarten level. There's no way in the world you should
they
leave
don't-
kindergarten and not able to write
They
your
want
name.
to teach us any. They don't want to teach anything because they've already got a plan for the kids that don't learn, the kids that aren't that can't read and write. They're gonna go to
Pipeline
prison.
to prison. Pipeline to
This
prison.
this one's prison
600
industrial
beds.
complex for beginners. It's like the school to prison pipe. This one is called the prison industrial complex for beginners.
There'll be a 600 bed for a boy detention center, but you won't clean up one room. You won't put one bucket of paint on a wall. You
In
won't
the
wash
schools.
down one window in the school, but you'll give the African American kids 600 bed.
And in the third
You
grade,
see, they just built that new
Juvenile
juvenile
detention.
detention center on Pasadena. That's what we're saying.
They look at
Why don't
third
they
grade reading
focus on the
scores.
children in the school
They
system?
look at third grade reading scores to determine how many prisons to build and
That's
how
true.
many beds to put in those prisons.
One of my talking points was
Let's go.
prisons for profit, privatized prisons.
Privatization.
What do you guys think about that? Because they're definitely making a lot of money.
Do you remember the emergency managers? That's the privatization that was hit upside the head in Flint. They stopped the democracy. We elected people to sit in certain positions. They became lame ducks because of the emergency manager system. They sold everything that we had in the city of Flint, even the Santa Claus on top of City Hall. They sold our garbage trucks.
So-
Now we have to lease
Now,
them. You know what I'm saying? It's
that
privatization.
happened with the schools, right?
Yes.
They gave away our food services to a third
Took
party.
service for $1, you may as well say.
So yeah,
Our
so that-
centralized
but
food.
the emergency
center.
manager
Oh, yeah.
legislation
So
goes
what's the
over
solution, though?
municipalities.
What's the
and school
solution?
systems.
Pay
That's a good
attention.
question, because we got a lot of people.
Oh, I got
talking.
Oh, I'm
solutions.
sorry.
There's one of the
you can see
solutions.
them right there. You can see all the
Oh, all the
comments and shit.
Here,
Oh,
here-
okay.
here's
Wanna
the
respond and
solution.
stuff.
well, we got to get rid of the
Here-
financial emergency
Yeah.
manager.
Now
law,
here's the
first of all.
solution.
Right.
We got to stop standing up one time and sitting back down. We got to stop coming to meetings one time and not come back. You have to put a demand on your people. You have to put a demand on what you want from the city council, from the government, all the way down to your school board. It is your community. That's the solution.
Take it
We
back.
cannot do this by ourselves because, you know, we're going to get beat up and prosecuted. But the way that you guys came in yesterday,
Was beautiful.
we got to take it to the street.
So
Our next meeting is going to be February the 8th. We want you to come out, and hopefully all our board members going to celebrate and sign over the changing of the library
Mhm.
yeah.
to
Yeah,
Gloria
right.
Cole.
Mhm.
And I believe we got that support.
Mhm.
That's what we call our next meeting. February the 9th is your community forum that the superintendent puts on, talks about the ESSER Fund and how we arrived to what we got. But
We
what I
do
want
have
you
a-
guys to focus on when he's talking, ask him to explain their community partnership agreement. This is where you guys supposed to come in at.
Mhm.
This is how we're going to build this community up.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Please
this is
come.
to help MDE, which I spoke to him on several times. The only way that we're going to turn this education system around is we got to get out here and get the parents involved and get the males involved in our district and let you guys help us turn this around.
That's right.
And-
As far as, could you give some people don't know where y'all gonna be. Could you give the exact address for them? Like,
It's
show us at?
it's on at Scott School on the corner of Lapeer and Averill.
Old Scott School.
The
at
old
Averill.
Scott School, right across from the old IMA sports arena. It's Scott School. It sits on the corner of Averill and Lapeer. You cannot miss it.
February the 8th
February-
is 6:30.
6:30.
February the
It's called-
8th is 6:30.
It's called the ALA, the Accelerated Learning Academy. That's the
Get
new
it
name of
done.
the old Scott School. And
But it's got Scott
six-
School on the building.
February the 8th is 6:30. February the 9th. That's when you're going to talk about this ESSER Funds, how the community plays a very important part in it.
And we have a question about
And
what
this
ESSER funds are.
February the 9th at 4 o'clock at ALA. That's when they're going to talk about ESSER Funds. ESSER Funds are designed for the elementary education. The school is for classroom, it's for activities, to help increase learning. You can do renovation for it. It was also to retain teachers. So if you go to, this is what I want the public to do. Go to your website, get your computer, and type in ESSER, ESSER 123, or ESSER 3.
6:30.
Yes.
Yeah, ESSER 3. And look that up, ESSER 3. Read it for yourself. Read it for yourself. So when you're talking and you have your talking point, no one can talk above your head. We're not talking about Title I. We're talking about ESSER 3.
ESSER 3.
Title I has a limit to it. ESSER 3
Has
kind
to.
of has a little bit more freedom. So look up ESSER 3 and see, and then you can go and look at how much money came from ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3. We don't spend ESSER 1 so many million. We don't spend ESSER 2 so many million. The question I asked the public, drive around your school, do you see $80 million worth of work done anywhere in your school?
No.
Any school that's filled with kids.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see
Public.
80 million,
Public
80 mil, in a public school,
schools.
in a public school? Do you see $80 million anywhere? You can swim in Holmes parking lot on a good day.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see it? That's the question you should be asking. Do you see ESSER 1 money anywhere? Do you see ESSER 2? All the millions of dollars that came through this city from the Flint water crisis up to now, we should be way ahead of than what we are. Do you guys see any $1 million of work done in your community to your people from the city hall to the Board of Education? It's not there.
That's right. And then when Joyce just mentioned the water crisis, that water dummied up, excuse the pun, our children. Do you know we have a whole school called EduCare because the children are slowed up so much they had to build a school to address the issues that they're having with cognitive and reflex and all of those things. We actually went over there and would read to the children. We got some problems in this community, and it's time for everybody to step up, stop talking about it, and be about it.
And stop letting people tell you how to medicate and treat your children. Holistic healing works.
It does.
There's other things that work.
Good diet.
We're doing what we're doing. Smaller classroom.
Mm-hmm.
More male in the classroom, in the hallway. Mm-hmm. So these are your children. And you sit back and fold your arm and think that they're going to fix it for you. They're fixing it for themselves. They get paid. You know, nobody really wants to get rid of the prison system. Nobody really gets rid of poor people. Poor people is money. Wherever there's ignorance, that's where the money is at.
That's right.
And so they need poor people. They need ignorant people.
That's the nonprofit industrial complex.
That's
because
right.
What they do is they funnel the grant money through there, and the majority of the money goes to administrative costs. It goes to the six-figure salaries. I mean, if you look at like the Goodwill industry, for example, the CFO or the CEO of Goodwill makes over 6 figures, and then what they pay, they just had a lawsuit where they were paying for piecework, like for hanging things on hangers. They would give you 13 cents for everything you put, because of the Disability Act. They would hire Americans with disabilities, and that's how the system works, right? It's a money laundering scheme.
Money laundering.
It's a legal mafia system. So they take this money that's earmarked for the poor or for whatever, for title money or for whatever, and then it goes through the nonprofits, and then they take out a significant portion for those perks and benefits, and then you have these most of the individuals don't even live in the city.
That's right.
They live outside.
That's
of the
another
city.
thing.
They drive in to help us, and then they drive back out. That's right.
Right. Just like when General Motors left, we had given them so many tax abatements. And then they just pull up and leave us high and dry. And when the water crisis hit, the engines were messing up with that water. They thought more of a corporation than they did the residents in this city. We didn't even know we were being poisoned until the issue was raised. They allowed them to go back to Detroit, but we were still here boiling water, which was the worst thing that we could have done, you know. And with the monies that have come through Flint, they could have given every household $1 million. That's how much money has come through Flint.
Would have boosted our economy.
Yes, it would. And then what it would also help us do, if that court that held on to $600 million, 85% of it goes to the children at the most. Why not give it to them moms and let them so they can come off them penny ante jobs and they can stay at home. Then they can be available in the school. Because the money that we are paying now, trying to fix our broken system, let those parents give them that money, and we need them in the school. We don't need them at McDonald's. We don't need them walking up and down trying to struggle. That is one of my suggestions that we do. I'm
That's why voting is so important.
Yeah.
Yes.
And people who are making these decisions are people that are in places of power or who have been voted in that controls things that affect your everyday life.
And I won't be just in Flint. I'm speaking for me.
Felons can vote too.
Yes.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I want to emphasize that you need to check into what type of felony you have and all that, and what state you live in or what city you live in or whatever. Because just because you have a felony, you don't just avoid voting altogether.
That's right.
Get on out there and vote.
In the state of Michigan, felons can vote. And we do have organizations through Janelle Allen Bay. He has Nations Outside, and they do expungement classes. There's a lot of resources in us. If you need to know something, you need to just come on, get on board.
Yes, we had a couple of weeks back say that there was an expungement program coming up at Burston, I believe. I can't remember the name of date, but it's on one of our previous podcasts. I think it was Dion. Said that it was an expungement program coming up at Burston. You know what I'm saying?
And we need to do more of that, and we need to bring the expungement into the schools as well.
Yes.
And also, help with getting IDs, identification,
That's
all
right.
of those kind of things need to be part of the community. This is what I'm talking
This
about.
is
Community.
why we need you all.
No, you're right.
We
Right.
need you.
Community schools. But I did really want to say, though, we're talking about how this system is broken. Well, with all due respect, I'd like to quote Dr. Calvin Harvell, who's from Henry Ford. He's a sociologist at Henry Ford College. And like I said, I'm a systems person. I look at the system. I look at the structure. I look at how it's inequality and racism is being reproduced. The system is not broken. Not at all.
It's working
exactly how it was designed
Yes.
to work.
That's
This
right.
is how it's supposed to work, which is why absolutely. That's why this is why Angela Davis, why Mariam Kaba talk about the new abolition, because we have to abolish these systems. We can't reform them. We can't change them because they're too slick. We move this way, they come
go
after
that
us. It's
way.
like I said, they Columbus us. They take us. The Panthers come in and do a Head Start program. It gets co-opted, right? So we have to abolish.
And they get demonized.
Oh my God! Well, or assassinated, right? Or just plain out shot. So we have to abolish these systems, and we have to replace them with something different. Which is why the ESSER funds that we're talking about, we have to have autonomy and self-determination and control those funds for ourselves with programs for ourselves.
And we have to galvanize, not just here in Flint. We got to start talking the same language throughout the United States.
That's right.
I'm not just starting right here. I decided to start to coming out public. Most people know I want. It's because I have a message. And this is the message I'm going to take to my grade. If you don't have a purpose of life, you got to put purpose in. You got to understand what your child's purpose is. You got to know what your purpose are. And we got to start to galvanizing together, sticking together, and speaking the same thing throughout the universe. Because when one black community fell, it's just like domino. Just
Yes.
push it.
Yes.
And now we're in a domino effect until actually the game is over.
Mhm.
There's a Flint, Michigan, or a few Flint, Michigans in every state.
That's
Every
right.
state.
That's
Yeah,
right.
every
You have to
state.
look at it. Every state across America.
My-
See a duplicate.
Yeah, my daughter is a school teacher.
And I'm
in-
not trying to repair a broken system. I'm saying that we're gonna rebuild a system that suits and works.
works
And
for us.
we're not going to allow other people to dictate to us. Mindfulness is fine. It's okay. But if you don't know how to love yourself, if you don't know how to love your own
Come on
child,
now.
yeah, and you don't want to feed your own baby, what make you think somebody else gonna feed your baby when you don't want to feed your own child? Child support is okay, but it's not the answer, because that child needs that father and that mother in their home. And I'm a single parent. I never bugged my kid's father about child support, because you know what? I got more out of them. They didn't even tell me, I'd rather pay you child support. I don't want child support, because I got more. I got the support I need.
Right.
I got everything that I wanted. I didn't have to worry about nothing. I didn't have to lay around with Tom, Dick, and Harry, because that man was going to do what he's supposed to do. Child support also can be your worst enemy, because you're basing the relationship of your child betterhood growing up on a systematic child support. So we got to have these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if a man love his child, he gonna take care of his child.
That's right. That's
The
right.
Bible said a man that don't feed and look at his kids, he's likened unto an infidel.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And there's nothing you can do with an infidel.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely nothing.
Mm-mm.
So we have to go back, and I'm at that age. I really don't care. Don't have to have that many friends, because when I die, nobody gonna go in that casket but me. So I don't mind speaking the truth now. I have nothing to lose.
Yeah, right.
Me either.
I have nothing to lose on this board.
Mhm.
$100-some million. You worried about a fence
Mhm.
and
Instead of the
a
kids.
vacant building? Why don't you call the media out and say, "Come here, let me show you what I want to do to the building that we do have."
Yeah.
Takes 3 years to build a school. So you meant tell me you're gonna let them sit there and rot for 3 years when you got $80-some million
That
you're
don't
too
make
scared to
sense. It
spend?
just don't make sense.
But what you guys told me, it makes perfect sense to them, because they'll leave the doors open for the public to come in there and
Destroy it.
Need to be condemned. And just sit there and rot, and the roof don't get no attention for 3 years. Now it's gonna get water damage and mold and all that stuff.
On
So
purpose.
now it needs to be condemned.
That's
because you
right.
said a vacant land is worth way more than one with a building that
Especially-
Look at the land.
Then they want us to demolish it for them.
I know. They
Yeah.
want us to
Keep
take,
us catch
but they
22.
want us to take the general funds. They want us to take the kids, the
Money.
that we have for our kids, for their education, to tear down a building for them so they can have that land.
That's
So
crazy.
we just want the public to know that we're for brand new schools, but we also for brand new ideals too.
Yeah,
We,
yeah.
we want brand new schools. We want our
We
kids
do.
to have the best.
ESSER funds can't go for
But we
new
can't,
buildings.
yeah, but there's other ways we can do other things. But we ain't doing nothing, working with what you do have. Work with what you do have. And I don't have any enemies. Only enemy I have is poverty. And our kids are living in it.
Mm-hmm. Poverty. Yeah.
By design, but then you got people at the table don't know what to do.
Mhm.
Waiting on the top man to tell you how to spend. But what we actually here for, we need the parents. We're calling out on parents. We're calling out on leaders. We're working with the Michigan Department of Education, and I believe we can turn this around.
I do too.
Yeah.
But
I
we
do
can't
too.
do it without you. You guys
We
showed
need you.
up. I know certain people in certain organizations not used to seeing black men that care. They used to seeing you with your hands cuffed behind your back and beat
Pants
down and
sagging.
kicked around and
Mhm.
until you kicked it down. They're not used to seeing you standing tall. And so we appreciate you coming out. We appreciate Pastor Threadkill,
Yes.
Mhm.
Dr. Deloney. We appreciate you
Lauren
guys.
Bryant. Yes.
Lauren Brown, we
Mhm.
appreciate you coming out and saying we care.
Yes.
Because we do care.
We do.
We do care. And so I was glad to see you out. I hope that these organizations look at you from a different perspective. But you asked for strong black men. They came out. Now let's see what you're gonna do. Put your money where your mouth at.
That's where I'm at.
Thank you.
Yep, that's it. You
And
got
that's
me?
for me,
Well,
my colleagues.
Like I said, it's about the systems for me, and this is the system isn't broken. It's working just fine, and so we have to disrupt and we have to dismantle the system. And so we've got a window of opportunity. It's like Dr. Joyce said. You know, I was talking to one of the parents. The silver lining in the water crisis is that everything was going according to plan. They were privatizing our resources. They were giving them away. They were working on this austerity narrative about how we couldn't look after ourselves. We didn't know what we were doing. And they got caught. They got caught poisoning our water system, and it got international media. It put a crimp in their plans. We
Mhm.
still have that illegal bond deal that they entered into that we're still paying 66% of
Yes.
our water bill money goes towards paying an illegal
legal
water
bond.
bond.
Yeah.
Bond.
Legal bond.
Yeah.
And we still have to
That
fight.
started
Yes.
from a lagoon.
That's right. That's oh yes, yes. And a
Right.
judge ruled that it was unconstitutional, that it was illegal, and nobody ever did anything about that. We started talking about lead and legionnaires, and we got sidetracked. Again, they want us look over here, look at that. They throw a ball, go over there and chase after that. And we're gonna sit over here and we're gonna keep our illegal bond, and you're still gonna be paying these one of the highest water bill
Rates in the nation.
country. But
Yes.
back to the point. The water crisis brought international
Attention to
onto
Flint.
Flint. Then we had a international pandemic, public health crisis it was another wrench in the plan, and it gave us this opportunity right now. We've got a window, and it's closing every single day. We've got to take control. We've got to take that self-determination, autonomy, like I was talking about. We've got to take the destiny in our own hands. This is our historical moment right now. So we've got the money. Let's not squander the resources. Let's not give away our generational wealth. Let's not, just kind of do business as usual and keep reproducing that system. Let's stand up and fight back.
Can I just say this on behalf of my son? And I'm doing this because of Joseph and the other Joseph, those people that died in the water crisis that did not have a voice. They didn't get the media attention. Records was tainted, pulled apart. And when my son started the dying process, the hospital knew. And they told me that we got to put him away. We got to put him away. To put him away for what? And you never will forget when a son is dying and when they call mama.
Mm-hmm.
There is no other sound
Mm-hmm.
that I can even think of when your child is dying and they calling mama. And he kept saying, it's in the water. Don't do this to me. And I'm telling the people, why you guys are almost asking me to utilize him. I didn't know nothing about the water crisis. We wasn't really informed about it. But he had a compromised immune system. It wasn't just lead in the water. It was the bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
My son was taping his face, his flesh, when he take a bath. He screamed, and then we caught him using Scotch tape to tape his face back up. It had ate up all his outside organ. It ate up his heart. He had a quarter of a lung left. It ate up his kidney. His heart was sitting in a pool of maggot. He died a horrific death. And one thing he said, well, mama, you can't buy me out of this. The only way that I would lay down if my mama put me to sleep, because she's not going to do that. And I always give accolades to Karen Weaver, because there'll come a time when you just have to hear the truth. And I needed the truth. And when she announced to stop drinking the water, my son was dying. He said, didn't I tell you it was the water? And I had 48 hours to beg my son to put him to sleep. So I'm on a journey that nobody else is on.
Mm.
Nobody out there can hurt me because I'm already hurt. You can't dig a deeper hole for these children. It's already dug. And when you watch a child die, all because somebody made a decision to say they didn't need clean water. And I told them, if you let me put you to sleep, I'm going to try to fix this. So I am fixing the life of all these children and mothers and unborn kids that got dehumanized. Just all they wanted was clean water. So I'm not in this fight for me. Been a millionaire twice. Don't care if I never be one, because then it blinds you. We got to stick to the purpose. What this money is designed for. And this is the last time that somebody's going to come through and give you an opportunity to fix yourself and your community. Because once it's gone, it's gone.
Mhm.
Then you're going to see the nonprofits draw up out of your community. They're not going to be throwing $200 and $300 out there now, because they just giving you something they don't want because they want the biggest pie. I'm done.
Well, I guess the last one would be me. Now, my sister, Gwen, we were born the same day, the same year. She died from 2 different kinds of cancer, and it had to do with the water. There are TTHMs in the water, and those are cancer-causing agents. My niece right now has 4th-stage cancer, and they can't even diagnose the 2nd cancer. We have a record number of people dying from cancer right now. Every week we got people going in the ground or in the crematory. It's ridiculous. And it's all derived from the water. We are your original water warriors sitting right here on this panel. We are the original water warriors, the Democracy Defense League also. We wear many hats. I want you to know we are activists because we care about this community. A good friend of mine, we had to bury him last year, the end of last year, Robert Cornelius Williams. He had Legionnaires. He was in McLaren when the Legionnaires hit, and he suffered.
He lost his leg.
He lost his leg. It was amputated. I would pick him up and bring him on the marches with us to Lansing. He called me 2 weeks before he passed. Claudia, when are we going to get our money from the water? Because he wanted to buy Northwestern and renovate it himself. These are the things that I'm talking about. We have lived through some gut-wrenching, hard things, you know? And that's why we fight. That's why we stand up. Because we care, and we're mothers, and we're warriors until the end. The same thing that's happening here, my daughter tells me this, if I close my eyes, the same exact thing is happening in Texas where she teaches. The water dummied those children up. It's against the law for them to teach Black history. You know, it's so many things. We're fighting, and DeSantis, he ruled that Black history can't be taught. We built this country. What do you mean? And they trying to erase it. And they just said, so one time they said we were indentured servants. No, we were slaves. Brought here, chatteled, and, you know, stolen from our families. And then when we got here, my grandfather told me. My grandfather told me he remembers when part of his family was sold to the Wilson farm, and the other part to the Hicks farm. And they still got the slave quarters in Alabama right now. Those are the things I'm saying to you. We have a lot of reasons to fight, a lot of reasons to stand up. Bring this community back together. If you don't hear anything else that we've said tonight, we need you parents to get up and come out and support us to help support our community. That is the bottom line.
February 8th and 9th. Averill and Lapeer Street, y'all. Y'all come on up there.
And I always go to Flint Community School website to see the different meetings we have. You can always call the administration. You can call your superintendent, call and make your voices heard. You guys did a great presentation last night, and I hope that you see results. You don't see results, you just keep coming until you get them.
Amen. And thank you for having us.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
y'all provided a wealth of knowledge, huh? You see how everybody, when you get a chance, maybe you.
Real quick, can you shout out them books a little bit?
So
to give some people
we just mentioned, well, these aren't even for sales. I'm not even,
She does this.
I just carry these around with. So we just talked about Florida banning the AP African American history. These are some of the things. These are some of the books that have been banned. These are some of the authors that they don't allow in the Florida schools. And so I'm trying to get these books out there so that people know the names: Angela Davis, Bell Hooks, and the list goes on and on and on. With Dewan, I told you I would be giving out books so that we can have the raffles and drawings. Let's get people
book club with us.
Yep, we need to do the book club. Because these are the books they don't want us to be reading. Right? You hear me? These books, these and many more. And like I said, I'm always carrying them with me, because we've got to. If you don't know the past, you're doomed to repeat it.
Exactly.
I'm saying, for people out here watching and stuff, are these books available to support these writers?
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
order them.
Yeah, and why don't we compile, I don't know, a book list, a reading list? We'll have a Flint abolitionist reading list.
Yeah.
And we can start because some of these are books that you can just get on Amazon. What?
Margi.
Yeah. Please. No, you go ahead. I'm just like looking at some of these books from Haymarket Books, from PM Press, AK Press. They're publishers that are I'll just
Keep going.
all right. So they're publishers, but they're getting overshadowed by some of the bigger publishers. They're getting overshadowed by the Walmart publishers, but they're still available. And like I said, we'll get that reading list out there, and let's start that book club.
Works for me.
And then we also have parents that are starting a parent participation group. What Parent University?
A Parent Summit University.
Flint Parent University.
Yeah,
we're coming up with some kind of a name.
Creating the Flint Parent Summit University. Margi.
Big shout out to Margi.
Shout out to her. She's over at home school. We met today, and we're gonna put together.
Still got a ring here.
Oh, okay. And we putting some things together for parent as a Summit University, where we're gonna have different spaces and places to talk about trauma, expungement, parenting class,
Cooking,
you name it, cooking,
Economics, home economics.
Yeah,
and so we're gonna be
Skilled
out
trades.
for funders to help us pull this off.
financial.
We're not gonna
literacy.
be big, and we're just gonna be asking. And when they see the work, they're just gonna give it anyway. And so we're gonna be bringing you more information about that. But we do need parent participation for these Title I money. Ms. Margi needs parent participation in order to get these funds, because the parents have to commit to what we're planning on doing and what they would like to see. So she sent out 150 forms, and we're going to get busy as a community, make sure that the parents get involved and get these funds done so we can start spending money and getting money. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And I think, Dewan, you're pulling together a meeting. We've got a loosely scheduled meeting for Saturday. So kind of put Saturday morning-ish, because we've got we've got a strategy session, because it's one thing, like I said, to say no to what you don't want, but you've got to provide the solution to what you do want. And so we're going to be scaffolding this Saturday morning somehow.
Will it be here? Will it be
It's
here?
Dewan, I think Golden Gate. Are we talking Golden Gate, or?
We're going to sit down and have breakfast. Maybe do Golden Gate.
will be a good time.
That's why I'm like,
So
You know, this Saturday we got
John's
an
got a
invite.
big bite of hot dog right there.
Yeah, we got an invite at one place Saturday morning. So
Oh yeah, we do.
from 9 to 11, we got on.
What are we doing?
Remember the lady came to the poll and asked us to come.
Oh. So we got to get a strategy session going, and we've got to
What
do
about
it.
noon?
we do a brunch.
Yeah.
That'll be good. So Saturday noon, Golden Gate is
Golden
open
Gate?
till 2
Yeah, I think so.
noon. I'll put some publication together.
All right, and we've got it. This is a working session, a strategizing session to actually come together and, make these programs stronger so that we have something to take the place of this nonprofit industrial complex.
Okay.
Want to close it up?
Yeah,
Yep.
we're closing out. So we would like to thank our participants.
Let them know how to get in contact with
you.
Okay.
My fault.
Go ahead and close it out, Professor.
Well, I mean,
He said he wanted you to tell him how to contact us.
how do you guys want to be contacted? I just give out my number. I'm a public sociologist. I give it out to my students. I give it out. I'm a worker organizer. This is my day job. My number is 810-618-6006. You can do email address. Yep, that's a little harder because you got to spell McIntyre, LG McIntyre, and that's MACINTYRE @gmail.com. That's how, if you guys want to share your contact.
Claudia Perkins, 810-691-9398. And it's the young cowgirl at yahoo.com. Joyce?
I'm typing my email in on the chat.
Okay, and we are affiliated with the Democracy Defense League. Like I said,
DDL.
we're out there, we're in the streets. That's why our numbers and our emails are public. So feel free, to reach out, because we've got to start organizing and we've got to start strategizing and doing some concrete work. It's gonna take a lot of hard work. It really, really is. We're gonna have to roll up our sleeves because that the community will expect nothing less.
And you can locate me on
And
Facebook.
deserves nothing less.
Facebook, Joyce Ellis McNeil. My email is Joyce, JOYCE, McNeil, MCNEAL 123 @gmail. But just go to my Facebook page and be kind and
Mine.
and inbox me, and I'll send you some more personal information. Thank you, guys.
Yes, that's it. We all did. We all closed out.
Thank you.
Okay, y'all say blackout. Y'all want to do the blackout?
Oh,
Oh.
blackout. Blackout.
Wakanda forever. All right.